Hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Rayman Raving Rabbids TV Party for the Nintendo Wii. So last time we have managed to able to completely done with every single minigames in Monday, even though despite the fact that on very rapid show that I somehow messed it up during the forms of that computer players managed to give me on cornered or caught me off guard most of the time anyway. But regardless of everything else though, I did this pretty decently. So yeah, today for this episode is the fact that we are moving on to the next day, which appears to be Tuesday. So yeah, there's not much else to it. But before we get this thing started, I believe we get ourselves the cinematic cutscene. So yeah, every time before you go on to the next day, that you obviously going to be able to watch the next cutscene, so because of that though, yeah, that's something worth noting for. And as you can tell, that in his cinematic cutscene is the fact that since that Rayman accidentally smacked the forms of that television, this meaning about the fact that we got ourselves our first crack on that specific screen. And this meaning about the fact that the ultimate goal for the plot is the fact that in order to let the Rabbids go back into the outside world again, the ultimate goal is the fact that they need to let the television go cracked all the way up, or completely cracked up on the actual TV screen, and well, the more you do those mini games, then well, by the way, you need to complete those, by the way, because if you somehow don't get enough points, then you're gonna have to select the next one, or to be more specifically, try that again. So yeah, that's something worth noting for. So anyway, let's get this thing to it in Harley Rabbidson, and well, not much else to tell for this minigame, apart from the fact that we have to use both the Wii Remote and the Nunchuck combo. So because of that though, we're gonna be act out like, you know, think of like we're on a motorcycle or something. So, but except the fact that we're actually gonna go for that little distance over there, while trying to avoid those little obstacles and all that stuff though. So, anyways, let's get this thing to it. Is it? Oh, almost got to the green, but that's fine, because even then though, well, if you somehow manage to let the actual gauge go to red, then I'm pretty sure that you don't get points. I could assuming for that anyway. So, yeah, obviously today's day is of course the 5th of April today, in this case in 2021. And not much else to talk about, I'm afraid, apart from the fact that, well, usually relatively speaking, we've only got about 25 days to go until the new Pokemon Snap for the Nintendo Switch will be releasing at that time. Oh, and by the way, if you come towards the end right there, this is where you have to brake at the right time. And if you do it, then you were able to get some points, even though despite the fact that I haven't got enough points to able to get that next accessory costume for one of those Rabbids. So, oh well, that's fine. At least I did manage to try my best for able to try to get some progression when it comes to, like, you know what I mean. So, anyways, now let's move on to the next time slot, which, I guess we should probably go for this next one, which is Boardwalk Catwalk. This minigame can be a bit fun, though, even though it always reminds me like those wacko-based minigames from the likes of, well, let's just say Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, basically. So, and I believe we do need to acquire the Wii Remote and Nunchuck combo as well. So, just in case you do need to run fast, and whilst the camera shows up, then you're gonna have to freeze for a bit. So, yeah, that's something worth noting about. So, there are a few things I would like to mention about this, however, though, is that, while this is going, recently is the fact that the Summer Game Fest is going to be happening once again, except this time around, though, unlike, actually, I'll get to more on that in a moment, because I'm going to have to keep on waggle the Wii Remote and Nunchuck at this moment, and, again, I must admit, though, there are a few times that my nunchuck just keeps on, like, screwing me up again. So, that's what it usually does nowadays. Thankfully, unlike the Joy-Cons for the Nintendo Switch, at least thankfully I don't have to deal with the forms of the loose connections with those two controllers in mind. Because you know what I mean, it's the fact that usually because these Joy-Con controllers are now wireless and stuff like that, as opposed to, well, usually the Wii Remote is all wireless and everything, but it does require batteries included, so... Oh, speaking of such, advert. And I believe if you do manage to succeed that, well, this will give you a boost. So, that should give you an ultimate victory, or an instant victory, I should say. But no, you get the idea how that goes. So anyway, with the Summer Game Fest that's going to be happening once again for the sake of this year. However though, unlike the forms of how it does it on 2020, that it did happen during the forms of, I would say in July, but this time around, for this year in particular, it's now going to be takes place in June this time around. So, I'm guessing that we've only got about 2 more months left until that's happening. So, yeah, that's something worth noting about. Yeah, let's go for this little Jackpot minigame, because it looks kind of interesting. And also this takes place in Raving channel, so yeah. And one thing I totally forgot to mention about this is the fact that this game first came out in 2008, so both on the Wii and the DS as well. So because it's kind of weird that usually for every Rabbids game, in the past anyway, they managed to release those games in one per year kind of routine. You know, just like the ones in how it does it in those Hudson Soft Mario Party games. You know, with the one with you know what I mean, the majority of the GameCube Mario Party games and the N64 ones as well. That and same applies to the forms of the ND Cube Mario Party titles as well. That's obviously we've got Mario Party 1, well, at least in Japan, came out in 1998, and then a year later in our country, and Mario Party 2 came out in Japan in 1999, and 2000 in our country, and then Mario Party 3 came out in 2000 in Japan, which I can't even believe has been 2 decades old already in Japan, and a year later in the English version. So yeah, I can't believe it's been 2 decades old for Mario Party 3. Even though the next thing they're able to actually put up with the forms of the 20th anniversary is of course Mario Party 4, which relatively speaking of that Mario Party 4, basically Tiana, she's managed to able to recently got started with Mario Party 4. So yeah, that's something worth noting about for that specific for that discussion. Oh Jesus Christ, man, I think my nunchuck is almost gonna screw me up right there. Yeah, that's the thing I don't like about the nunchuck sometimes, is that sometimes if it starts to wear out, then otherwise it starts to get a little bit glitchy most of the time. Which I do wish if I was gonna try to able to get the new nunchuck at some point, but not now though, because I think I got 2, which I think is actually kind of feels a bit enough for me. So but I digress. So yeah, this is a little Jackpot, a big Jackpot mini-game, as you can see. It feels like a combination of a collectathon along with platforming involved. And it's also like an auto-scroller, so because of this though, this is by far the longest mini-game of the bunch. Just because not only do you have to come across into certain sections of the entire platforming sections, but also get this, is the fact that obviously the screen constantly scrolls. So, in order to be able to keep up with you, well, you're just gonna have to keep things moving, because otherwise, well, you might as well get crushed, and then you lose points if you manage to get crushed by that auto-scrolling, and also same applies to those little hazards, such as those lasers, as you can see. If you dare touch one of those lasers, then you also lose points. And to get points, you have to get those little, I would say those trinkets, if I recall, what these things are. Again, I must have made this up, but I digress. So, there are a few minigames I would like to show those off, but there are some minigames I'm gonna have to ignore from now on though, just because, well, again, as far as for the actual main plot in this game involves around on, basically, all we have to do is basically we need to get out of the television system. And then, I believe there are about 7 days in total, so meaning about the fact that the whole week. So, this Let's Play might be a bit shorter. Well, it might still will be shorter compared to the forms of Rayman, Raving, Rabbids 2. But, either way though, it really depending on the forms of how lengthy some of these minigames are. So, expecting to believe about the forms of some of these, minigame lengths and all that stuff. So, but yeah, there's not much else to say about the forms that this whole minigame involves around, you know, trying to able to take control of the actual bingo ball rabbit there. So, I believe in order able to actually just to jump, well, basically you just have to flick the Wii remote downwards, and then basically you would able to get yourselves a small bounce. Oh yeah, and every once in a while, when you get to the very end of this particular minigame, it's all about the timing thing, by the way, which you really don't want to go into the actual red area, where the actual light shows the red color, because otherwise, I believe you lose points if you manage to able to touch the red light hole. But when it says green light over there, or if you see the green light, I should say, if you do somehow manage to make it in there first, before the other grey balls do, then basically you get some additional extra points if you're entering one. So, yeah, that's something worth noting about. And also we found ourselves the glorious present gift, so that way it'll give us another accessory costume for the rabbit. So, and since we actually completed 10 minigames so far, so this meaning we can go straight into the next day, which appears to be Wednesday. But, however though, I'm not going to do that just yet though, because I believe the next minigame we'll go ahead and deal with is Rabbit Wrestling. Seems all kind of fun and all that stuff though with this minigame. Even though, kind of think about it, this minigame does remind me of Wumpa-Thon in Wumpa-Thon minigame from Mario Party DS. Because obviously that in order able to win this, is that you're gonna have to avoid the actual the shadows of the wrestlers. Because if you somehow get flattened by those wrestlers, then you're pretty much out of the game. So yeah, that's the whole entire purpose of this minigame, is to be the last one standing as the winner. So this should be a piece of cake and all that stuff. So, wow, those wrestlers can be a bit weird in this game, but I digress. So once again, you to use the Wii Remote and Nunchuck combo. I think the control stick is mainly for use to move the rabbit, which is pretty obvious. And then I think flicking the Wii Remote might able to actually just to hit the rabbit. So I'm guessing that's as far as I can say about these types of controls. So yeah, there's not much else to tell. Oh, we have an advert. Let's see what this involves. Well, for one thing, is the fact that Rabbit's ears seems to go a little bit more floppy, and we have to shake the Wiimote up and down, and once you accomplish that, then you win a boost as well. So that moves was actually full in love. Oh man, I just like the charm of it though. Despite how most people found this to be kind of annoying with all the actual humor and charm with those rabbits, but again, as far as what I think Jules, she's already mentioned about this before, ever since in Rayman Raving Rabbids 2 Let's Play, ever since in last August, that basically is the fact that some people always comparing the Rabbids compared to the Minions from the Despicable Me series. Even though, talking of which though, when it comes to Minions 2, Rise of Goo, basically that film has been delayed again during the films of 2022. So yeah, that's something worth noting about. But honestly, I wasn't really interested with the films of the Minions series, honestly, just because, well, I wasn't terribly fond of it. So that's my opinion. But I do have that. But I do know that most people out there has their own different opinions too, which is true. Which, from their standpoints anyway. Oh goodness gracious me, this is where it gets really, really tough and difficult. We now need to avoid those 4 wrestlers all in one screen. Dang, that's actually pretty radical at the end. And speaking of radical, I've managed able to go enough points, so that way I can get myself my next accessory for my rabbit. So awesome stuff. But anyways, now let's move on to this next time slot here. And, well, let's see what kind of minigames we can able to play through. So, oh, this minigame's familiar. Day at the Races. But let's not play that, because I think, since then my nunchuck always has some issues on my practice file. So, let's just skip that, and let's just jump straight into back to Culture Movies. And because of that, we can hit on to the forms of the next shooting gallery minigame, which this time around we're going to be going to outer space in SRS Red Planet. So obviously the same old deal. You're just gonna have to be able to shoot the odd costume Rabbids and all that stuff though. So oh jeez, I need my nunchuck to turn on. There we go. It's all connected, so I think we should be fine as it is. Even though the actual main emphasis on these shooting gallery kind of games, it plays out very similar to each other. So except with the forms of the different themes every now and then. So I guess that's pretty obvious, but that's for the sake of time. Okay, something worth noting for this point as well is that actually, to be honest with you, there's not much else I can honestly try to talk about, aside from the, you know, the Summer Game Fest is going to be on its way now until the next 2 months or something. So, expecting to be hyped. Well, usually, as far as I'm aware, let me know in the comments below if, are you excited by the forms of the game, you know, Summer Game Fest at some point in June this year? Because there might be some skepticism when it comes to forms of able to actually just to predict of some of these announcements for that event. But I'm sure enough we will still definitely see some familiar Nintendo stuff in the future. Well, to be more specifically, that we're still waiting for, you know, new Pokemon Snap, like I mentioned earlier. And also same applies to Mario Golf Super Rush, and especially noticeable with The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, and even especially noticeable with new info on, you know, Breath of the Wild sequel, and also same applies to Splatoon 3, but don't think we can able to actually hear about Splatoon 3 anytime soon, because that game literally just announced. Ever since during the forms of February Nintendo Directs, despite that most people find this a bit lackluster in comparison just because of too many emphasis on JRPGs and way too many anime games, which I just kind of wish that they were able to actually focusing on, you know, some more Mario things, although despite the fact that it'll just take a really long time to make, which is understandable, and especially noticeable with the forms of, well, let's not mention about that, you know, that stupid word again, just because we're just gonna move on. Because we just want to move on, because, you know, after all, that everyone else got vaccine, myself included, even though I'm still waiting for the second one, so, yeah, that's all I can honestly try to say about this. Okay, something's worth mentioning for this point as well is the fact that, yeah, I did manage to able to re-download the, Super Mario Bros. 35, on my, purchase app, on my, Nintendo eShop, and, yeah, it looks like the service has been shut down, so, well, I can still able to interact with the menus and the icons, but as far as the actual gameplay, though, I no longer trying to able to play that game online. It also doesn't help about the fact that I did manage to test it out on the practice course, and it also shuts down as well, so, but as much as I did manage to enjoy that game, I don't play it that much though, like only 2 hours of the game. Mind you, because of the forms of the repeated stages over and over again, so at least I can honestly try to able to get that, but actually on second thought, I decided able to actually just to no longer have Super Mario Bros. 35 on me, on my Nintendo Switch, you know, the actual, the system itself, just because, well, in the end, it's just the fact that I just can't play online stuff anymore, which is kind of a shame, honestly. Even though the only level I'm in right now, or at the time, is level 38 out of 100 or star. Do I make a reference to the forms of Knuckles Chaotix or something? Or maybe I'll just get a little bit sidetracked. So anyway, yeah, apart from all that stuff though, I have no intention to able to actually unlock Luigi, after all, in Super Mario Bros. 35, so, yeah, there's not much else to tell. So, anyway though, so it looks like that we've almost nearly at the end. Yeah, if you accidentally shoot these aliens, or these, shooting, persons, or these little space conductors or something, basically is that you lose points, basically. So, I think I already mentioned about this before, ever since in the last video, so, yeah, there's not much else to tell. Alright, so, did we get some extra points? Yes, we do. And in fact, we actually got enough points, so that way we can able to actually get ourselves our next, costume accessory for any Rabbid out there. So, yeah, awesome, sweet stuff from my knowledge. And it looks like he's got possessed by, well, those alien creatures. And once again, it's to be continued, so this means there's still gonna be more to it than that. So, yeah, expecting to be hyped with all these little sequels have in mind. But anyway. Alright, I think we only got about 2 minigames left, so let's move on to the next time slot, which is 6 PM to 8 PM. So, let's have a look. Yeah, let's do, yeah, let's just do, actually, what minigame I might go for? Yeah, let's do this one, Rapid Ass. So, and this takes place in, Jam Sports. If I remember correctly, it's all about drawing out these specific shapes in order to be able to actually bypass for those specific hole shapes. So, at least if I recall that correctly. So, yeah, it's definitely one of those drawing minigames, and then that way you would be able to go through for those little, little hole shapes. And he doesn't have a parachute, so he just plummets down to the construction site. And by the way, every time whenever you go to these minigames, you know what the pointy minigames, just like in the forms of, well, Rayman Raving Rabbids 1 and Rayman Raving Rabbids 2, basically it's the fact that you always have to point at the circle until it starts to able to recognize, you know, the pointing controls and all that stuff though, so, yeah, there's not much else to tell. Ah, dang it, I screwed up. Okay. At least I still got multiple chances. Wow. Again, I must admit though, I will try my best if I was trying to able to beat the high score, but luckily it's entirely optional, just because obviously since how the fact that... Actually, you know what? Let's do the effort. And let's see how this works. Okay, so we have to shake the Wiimote up and down again, and it'll make things a little bit easier for ourselves. That's pretty weird for that phone. Like, just managed to able to duplicate everything with his eyes, ears, even though it makes the actual flower as some sort of like a monster or something, which is pretty weird though. Alright, so it's, in this part though, it's the fact that you just go for the actual straight lines in the easiest way fashion, so yeah, that's how it does. So, I think it only happens like 3 times, so yeah, that's something worth noting about, so... Actually, kind of thinking about it, but one thing that I sort of forgot to mention about this ever since in my Super Mario 64 DS Let's Play, that apparently, in during forms of the April Fool's Day on April 1st, that somehow in the Super Mario Wiki website, that it seems to able to actually get rid of the Mario's name, and then they just somehow just managed to able to actually bring it back again during the forms of the 2nd of April, which I'm guessing is one of those April Fool's joke kind of way, so but I digress. Speaking of April Fool's stuff, I found those fascinating, but either way though, like for instance, like there was supposed to be a leak of Captain Toad's sequel, but turns out that was an April Fool's joke, which is, I think it was Game Explained did manage to do that, which, that does look pretty cool, especially noticeable they managed to able to bring in, some interesting elements to it. But, and as well as from that, this very weird UFO kind of game as well, like UFO, being a part of the human form, which is bizarre for that specific April Fool's joke, and that's as far as I can think of. So, out of Controllables, the next Coach Movies minigame. So we're still able to actually try to shoot down those out of place actors with the Rabbids, and this time around it's gonna be almost like, it kind of reminds me like a James Bond vibe, like basically just takes place in some sort of like a dining kind of play or something. Well, it has been a while since I actually watched James Bond recently, since after when No Time to Die has been delayed several times, which we're not gonna get into that because otherwise it just gets really old really fast when it comes to mentioning that specific word. But anyway. And this time around, we need to take down those dinosaur Rabbids, which, more specifically, dinosaur costume Rabbids. So, and, yeah, that's pretty much how this goes. So, I do like the actual jazzy vibe to this particular environment, because even then, though, it just almost reminds me of some sort of, like, well, I don't know how do I personally try to call it, but I digress. So another thing's worth noting for is the fact that I'm pretty sure that we've only got about almost 2 months left, to be exact, by able to not only try to celebrate the Sonic the Hedgehog's 30th anniversary, but also celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Super Monkey Ball series. And, yeah, it's gonna be pretty exciting, even though despite the fact that we still haven't heard from the likes of those Sega games at the moment, well, at least despite the fact that, well, you guys should know what I mean. And, yeah, that's as far as I can usually think about it, because I would love to say, oh, we got ourselves that familiar face, like I just showed him earlier, which appears to be the returning Super Rabbids, which he does make a comeback after the events of the first game and the second game, so that was actually the third time we're going to be seeing a Super Rabbid. Even though, mind you, this is actually the last time we're going to be seeing a Super Rabbid in action, which is kind of a shame, honestly, even though it's more accurately a priority thing when it comes to comparison to, well, let's just say Superman or something like that from the DC comics. So, yeah, that's as far as I can think about it. So, speaking of those specific superheroes in mind, basically, I did mostly able to watch on my own time on WandaVision on Disney Plus exclusive. And I found these first two parts kind of weird, just because of the forms of the black and white structure, as well as from that, 4.3 ratio resolution and stuff like that, but it's still in HD, so yeah, it does feel a bit weird at first, but once I watched the next few episodes, to be more specifically at the moment, that I've seemed able to watch all 9 episodes so far, and I quite enjoyed it. Like, despite the beginning is a bit weird, just because of the different style, but apart from those side of things though, I actually did enjoy it. So, I suppose the next Marvel film I'm gonna be focusing on until next time around, it will be The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So, in fact, let me know in the comments below for the question of the day. Do you ever watch the Marvel films? Because I would like to hear your thoughts, because I actually do enjoy those. Even though, mind you, I found The Incredible Hulk, the 2008 film, okay. Not the best, but, it is average. I mean, it is okay. I mean, surely it does have some issues, but aside from that, though, it is okay. It looks like we've come to an end, where, basically, they'll just... oh. Someone's got trapped in the actual sack, so let's have ourselves some sort of like a, oh, okay. That's actually how this little, shooting range ends, so... and this time we get ourselves the end, as opposed to be continued, so... I guess that sort of usually just feels, you know, surprising, but I digress. And I think that pretty much concludes every minigame in terms of Tuesdays. So, every single minigames, I should say, on Tuesday. So, despite there are some issues, but we did that pretty good. So, I guess we should end things off here. So, join me next time for more of Let's Play of Rayman Raving Rabbids TV Party. Is now we are moving on to Wednesday. So, speaking of Wednesday, I will see you guys on Wednesday. What a coincidence. Later, fellas.